When the 2004 model year Subaru STI came to the US shores, it impressed many, including me, a longtime car enthusiast, a longtime person in the car business. I remember the first time I drove an 04 STI, got behind the wheel and hammered the throttle and onto the highway and felt the acceleration. It was absolutely heavenly. It was almost a religious experience for an automotive enthusiast. You know, surprised how a four-cylinder four-door sedan could accelerate that violently. Obviously, you know, there's a lot more faster cars today than there were back then, but the performance numbers of the STI are still impressive. Here we have a 2010 STI. This is the second generation of the STI, at least for the US market. And for the second generation, they offered it in a hatchback form versus a sedan. Later on, I think they did also offer it, you know, in the sedan, and eventually they switched back to the sedan platform for the STI. This is an absolutely beautiful example. It's been a while since I've seen one clean like this for an older one. A lot of these STIs and WRXs are popular with the youngins, and they like to modify them, you know, put controllers on them, mess with the boost, mess with the air-fuel mixture, which sometimes can, you know, lead to the engines going sour, going bad. But this is a completely unmolested example. It's a local one-owner clean Carfax vehicle, and it was regularly serviced at Subaru since new. All that information is on the Carfax report. Obviously, someone bought this vehicle new and cared for it very much, and we recently took it in on trade. So if you're looking for an STI, you know, and you don't want one that's been, you know, abused and heavily modified, they're few and far between. But, you know, 59,144 miles, and spending its whole life in the, you know, mild climate of the Pacific Northwest. There's no corrosion, no rust. You know, we have a few things, there's a few scuffs in the bumper which we're gonna get touched up. I just ordered a new windshield, but aside from that, this is a beautiful example of 59,144 miles. Such a legendary vehicle. I think, you know, maybe if you want to buy this and hold on to it for 20, 30 years, this could be a desirable classic in the future. It is a revolutionary vehicle. A lot of times when people get older, the cars they used to dream about when they were kids, those are the cars that they seek out, you know, in their older years when, you know, they're having their midlife crises. So, you know, like the people today that, you know, are, you know, buying, you know, like these 80s and 90s, you know, performance cars that have all of a sudden gone up in value. I can definitely, you know, it's not set in stone, this is speculation, but I could definitely see this happening in the future for a vehicle like the STI, especially for a rare early example like this. When you upgrade to the STI versus the WRX, you get a little bit extra performance goodies, you know, better suspension, Brembo brakes, front and rear limited slip differential. You have these beautiful Alcantara trim seats that are very comfortable. And you go up from a 5-speed manual to a 6-speed manual. Then you have this SI drive, so you have Sport, Normal, and Sport Sharp. So this will make changes to like the throttle sensitivity and engine power. So if you just want to do easy desert driving, you can put it in a lower drive setting, or if you want to do some performance driving, you can put it like in the Sport Sharp. And look at this, you have an adjustable center differential, so you can adjust the power distribution of the all-wheel drive system. So maybe if you want to do some real rallying on some dirt roads with the snow, hang the tail out a little bit more, you can adjust the center differential to do things like that. Pretty cool stuff. And there are very few vehicles other than a WRX or maybe like a Lancer Evo that allows you to do things like this. It's an amazing vehicle. Then you have this nice leather-wrapped steering wheel with the STI logo right in the middle. It's definitely the older, you know, Subaru interior, kind of plain, but I think it's good. Also, I have adjustable headlights. This is a really nice color combination on silver on charcoal. The seats are in really nice condition. Not very much wear on it. There's some very large Brembo brakes, amazing stopping power, 0 to 60 4.5 seconds. In 2010, that was giant killing performance. Even by today's standards, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds is very fast. There's a lot of purpose-built sports cars that have a hard time achieving performance numbers like that, you know, let alone a four-door little wagon. And this is a compact, but interior space is not too bad. I'm 6'2". I had that front seat adjusted for my head. I actually have a surprisingly good amount of legroom and headroom back here. Pretty impressive. Yeah, the nice thing about a vehicle like this, if you want, you know, something that stirs the soul, a performance car for an enthusiast, but you want a practical daily driver, maybe you want to put your kids back there, haul some cargo around. Well, with the hatchback, you know, the hatchback and 4 doors, it also makes it a very practical everyday vehicle. And with all-wheel drive, you know, if it snows out or it gets, you know, obviously we have to deal with wet roads quite often in the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, you know, you're not going to lose too much performance with that amazing all-wheel drive system. Also with the STI versus the regular WRX, you have a little bit wider flares in the fenders for a little bit more of an aggressive look. You have a larger hood scoop, and you also have HID lights, standard on the STI. And the real amazing aspect of the STI is this flat 4 engine. I love these engines. I had an 02 Subaru Outback Sport myself. Shares a little bit of you know, DNA with this thing. I absolutely love that vehicle. I love the sound of these engines, the power characteristics. 305 horsepower. And you know, the funny thing is, I think Subaru really kind of pushed the power limits of the STI, because the STIs of today really haven't gone up much more in horsepower. They've all pretty much stayed right around 300 horsepower. Really, you know, there's only so much power you can get out of a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine without blowing it up. And I think that's probably why, you know, we see a lot of modified examples. I can tell you that we've sold a few modified examples ourselves, and you know, some young kid gets behind the wheel and they maybe had a control, they start messing with a turbo boost or the air fuel mixture. You can lead to some problems. So these are cars I think that generally just like to be left the way they are. Maybe if I owned this, I'd put an exhaust system on, but unless you really know what you're doing, you're like you know how to wrench in these things by yourself, I just say leave the car alone. The Subaru engineers did an amazing job, you know, making the car fast enough. You know, put an exhaust system on it, but don't start messing with the engine. Just leave it the way it is, and you'll get much more better reliability out of it. We have complimentary delivery to Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. I know this might be an appealing car to people in other parts of the country. You can't do complimentary shipping, but we can arrange shipping just about anywhere in the country. We do it all the time. We work with lots of shipping logistics companies, and maybe you live in an area. I'm from Boston. You know, I can tell you probably a lot of STIs that spent most of their life in the New England area have rust and corrosion. But like I said, the Pacific Northwest is a very mild climate. You know, here in the Seattle-Tacoma area, we don't hardly have any snow. We don't have road salts. We don't have, you know, hot beating down sun. So the nice thing is that if it's very easy on the life of cars. And you know, if you ever visit the Pacific Northwest and you're from the East Coast, you'll notice there's a lot more older cars in nicer condition out here than other harsher states, well, other states with harsher climates, I should say. Thanks so much for taking the time today to watch this video. Really an awesome car. We're lucky to take it in on trade, and if you're looking for an STI and this one's still available of an older generation, congratulations. I think you found a really nice example.